Hi, I'm Brendan.
And I'm his brother Bryce. Welcome to the Daily Conversation, a brand new, first of its kind, interactive rundown of the stories that have us talking each day. Each segment is linked right here so you can skip around as you see fit.
Or you can sit back and enjoy the show. We open today with the tense situation in the Korean Peninsula, where North Korea has announced that Japan will be the target of a nuclear strike if they launch it. And the North Korean state media releasing this report.
사격수단들은 발사대기 상태에 있고 단두들에는 목표 좌표들이 정밀하게 입력되어 있다. 이제 단추만 누르면 발사되게 되어 있고 발사되면 원수들의 아성이 온통 불바다가 될 판이다.
If you've been following this situation for the past few months or even years, you've grown accustomed to the heightened bellicose rhetoric. Even still, Americans aren't used to having to sit back and hear this much trash talk, or really any amount of trash talk from another country. Plus, you have the opportunistic media here in the States, playing on people's fears and the fact that we're a little war deprived. Remember, launching a serious attack on Japan, the South, or a United States territory would not only likely fail, but would guarantee suicide for the regime. And the North's new leader, Kim Jong-un, is Western educated in Switzerland in just the past few years, so he knows what's up. He knows what's going around the rest of the world. He knows the capabilities of the military here in the United States. And this guy's living a luxurious lifestyle as the leader of North Korea in a luxurious palace, driving around fancy cars, and watching the NBA on his HD big screen TVs. He doesn't want to end this good life, and he surely doesn't want to do something that is going to mean the immediate end to his ruling of North Korea for him and his family. Just relax. This is all political theater. They're trying to remain in control over the people of North Korea, the people who they are starving. They're playing up this huge external threat from the United States, Japan, and the South in order to distract them from who the real problem is. It's Kim Jong-un and his government.
Renowned theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest thinkers of our time, has concluded that we've got to embrace the quest to fully understand our universe in order to move on up out of this planet. We must continue to go into space for humanity, he said in a recent lecture. We won't survive another 1,000 years without escaping our fragile planet. So that's our poll of the day. How much longer do you think humans have on planet Earth? One way to increase our ability to explore our universe is to increase the speed at which we can travel through it. And so that's why it's good news that researchers at the University of Washington have received a $600,000 research grant from NASA to design the fusion drive rocket system, which is powered by the motion of deuterium tritium fuel pellets the size of a grain of sand, each providing the same amount of thrust as a whole gallon of normal rocket fuel. It could cut the trip to Mars that the Mars rover took 18 months to complete down to just 30 days.
Thanks to one of the biggest collaborative efforts in the history of journalism by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, a large part of the dark, secretive world of offshore tax havens where the wealthy hide their fortunes from governments pretty much just got dragged out into the light. In their ongoing report, they've now named a member of one of the richest families in the history of the world, the Rothschilds. In just the weeks since the ICIJ broke this story, we've already seen huge government responses. In France, President Francois Hollande has called for the eradication of the world's tax havens. Europe's 5 biggest economic powers, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, announced that they would begin regularly exchanging banking and tax information. Luxembourg's Prime Minister Jean-Claude Juncker announced his country plans to lift bank secrecy rules for European Union citizens, a major step for a country whose banking industry is roughly 22 times the size of its economy. The Indian finance minister said an inquiry had been initiated by the authorities against individuals named. Philippine government officials said they will investigate evidence that Maria Imelda Marcos Manitoc, a provincial governor and a daughter of the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos, was the beneficiary of a secret BVI offshore trust.
The 11 largest pharmaceutical companies made $711 billion in profit in the 10 years ending in 2012. And a lot of this was from the turbocharged boost they got when the Medicare Part D prescription drug program was started in 2006 under President Bush, which prohibited Medicare, by far our country's largest healthcare provider, from using its vast purchasing power to negotiate for better prices. This is really, really bad, and it's a big part of our fiscal problems. Here in the United States, per capita drug spending is 40% higher than in Canada, 75% higher than in Japan, and 3 times greater than the amount spent in Denmark. All three of those countries have universal healthcare systems. But our impending universal healthcare system that's about to begin in less than 9 months doesn't directly deal with this problem. So what can we do about this problem? Well, the answer's really quite simple. We need to empower Medicare to be able to go after bulk purchasing discounts on these prescription drugs, which is exactly what President Obama and congressional Democrats have done in their 2014 budgets. That way we wouldn't have to slash Medicare or any of these other draconian ideas that the big pharma-sponsored Republicans are pushing for. And healthcare would get a whole lot cheaper for everyone.
A gay man in Missouri named Richard Gorley was beaten and arrested for trying to stay by his husband's bedside, even though he had the power of attorney, which allowed him to be there. The incident happened after Gorley's husband's brother and sister, who disapprove of their homosexual relationship, demanded that nurses have Gorley removed. And after a nurse came in and asked Gorley to leave the hospital, Gorley grabbed the bedside and refused to budge. That's when good old Missouri police officers showed up and started beating Gorley until he released his grip. And one of the police officers even made a derogatory comment about Gorley having AIDS and refused to touch him without wearing rubber gloves, and also insisted that they throw away the handcuffs that were used. This took place as Gorley's husband was coming in and out of consciousness, muttering that he wanted Gorley there by his bedside. This story is just a microcosm of the struggle that same-sex couples are still facing here in the United States. While President Obama and Democratic lawmakers have done a lot to push for gay rights, and the Supreme Court looks ready to legalize same-sex marriage, we're still falling behind on this issue as more and more countries beat us to the punch, with lawmakers in France and now Uruguay legalizing it this week. Uruguay is just the second country in Latin America to officially recognize same-sex marriage after Argentina, and with France, there are now 13 countries in the world who have done so.
Mark Zuckerberg has started a new political group called FWD.US, aimed at pushing Washington to move the knowledge economy forward. He made the announcement in the Washington Post and called for a number of new approaches, including comprehensive immigration reform, higher standards and accountability in schools, and investment in breakthrough discoveries in scientific research. He's partnering with more than a dozen other tech leaders, which means that not only will the project be extremely well funded, but it will always have smart people ready to contribute new and innovative ideas. And he really hit the nail on the head when he noted that economic growth in the next century won't be based on finite resources the way it was in the 20th century. Unlike oil fields, someone else knowing something doesn't prevent you from knowing it too. In fact, the more people who know something, the better educated and trained we all are, the more productive we become, and the better off everyone in our nation can be. It's great to know that the Zuckerbergs of the world are using their vast new fortunes to fight for progressive political change.
And lastly, some good news on a grim topic. According to Amnesty International, the global trend away from the measurable use of the death penalty by governments continued to drop in 2012. I say measurable because China, the top executor in the world, keeps its thousands of yearly executions secret from its citizens. Now, only 21 of the world's countries were recorded as having carried out executions in 2012. The top 5 executors were China, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, which is the only country in the Americas to put a prisoner to death. But the sign of progress here is that the number of states carrying out the death penalty in 2012 was only 9, down from 13 the year before.
That's the rundown. Much more information about each story we discussed can be found on one nice, tidy post on our website, which is linked below. That's also where you can take our poll of the day. How much longer do you think planet Earth can sustain human life?
Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can join us every weekday. We post one of these videos, and like that video below if you want to share this conversation with any of your friends or anyone who you think needs to see it.
Until next time, thanks for watching.